The classroom was noisy, students weren't paying attention. The new substitute teacher looked old, someone who could be easily brushed off. But when Richard Patterson opened the Normandy map and said, "This is Omaha Beach," the class slowly began to quiet down. "I was here when I was 19, he said. And at that moment, everyone realized that someone who had lived through what they read in textbooks was standing in front of them. Welcome to the Hidden Page Stories. Before we begin this powerful story, tell us in the comments what city you're watching from today, and if you believe stories like this need to be heard, hit that subscribe button to help keep these stories alive. The 11B classroom on the third floor of Lincoln High School started that Wednesday morning with its usual chaos. Students were taking their seats, conversations, laughter, phone sounds. History teacher Mrs. Henderson was sick, a substitute teacher was coming in her place. "I hope we get someone easy," Jake said to Amy from behind his desk. "Substitute teachers are usually old types who don't know how to use computers," Mia added. "Maybe we can watch a movie." At 9:15, the door opened. Richard Patterson walked in. 78 years old, medium height, white-haired, wearing a dark blue sweater. His walk was slow but determined. He carried an old leather bag in his hand. "Good morning," he said in a calm voice. "I'm Mr. Patterson. Today we'll continue your lesson in place of Mrs. Henderson." "Good morning," he said in a calm voice. "I'm Mr. Patterson. Today we'll continue your lesson in place of Mrs. Henderson." Students looked at each other. A typical substitute teacher confirming their expectations. Old, quiet, probably doesn't know the lesson plan. "What were you covering?" Richard asked. "World War II, said Emma from the front row. "Which part?" "The Normandy landing. D-Day." Richard nodded. "Good. Let's continue." He pulled out a large map from his bag. Old, worn, corners curled. He hung it on the board. A map of France, the English Channel, the Normandy shores. "Now," Richard said. "Who can tell me when D-Day took place?" "June 6, 1944, said Sarah. "Correct. And what was the operation called?" "Operation Overlord," said Mike. "Very good." Now, Richard approached the map. "This is Omaha Beach." He pointed to the shore with his finger. The class began to listen more carefully. "So who can tell me what happened there that day?" Jessica raised her hand. "American soldiers landed on the beach. Germans were firing from above. They suffered heavy casualties." "Yes," Richard said. "But that's just what you read from the book. Do you know what it was really like?" The class fell silent. The tone in Richard's voice had changed. "I was here when I was 19. Complete silence. "Excuse me, what did you say?" said Emma. "I was there, at Omaha Beach, June 6, 1944. Jake put down his phone. Amy turned and paid attention. Mia put her pencil on the desk. "Were you, really there?" asked Sarah. Richard pulled out an old, faded photograph from his bag. He showed it to the class. Black and white, corners worn. Young soldiers, uniforms, serious faces. This photo was taken on the evening of June 5, one day before the attack. "I'm the second from the left in this photo." Students looked at the photograph. A young soldier, about 19, facial features resembling a young Richard. "No way," Jake whispered. 116th Infantry Regiment, 1st Battalion. "We landed on LST 325. Richard returned to the map. "The beach was like this," he said, drawing with his finger. "The Germans had set up positions on the hill. As soon as we hit the water, they started firing." "What was it like?" asked Emma. Richard paused. He closed his eyes for a moment. "Terror. Nothing prepares you. The boat door opens, water comes up to your chest. Bullets are splashing around you. Your friends are falling." The class had forgotten to breathe. Of the 32 men who went out in the first wave, 18 didn't make it to shore. "How did you survive?" asked Mike. "Luck. And my buddy Danny next to me. He saved me." Richard pointed to another spot on the map. "After we landed, we ran here, to these rocks. We took cover for hours. The Germans were shooting at us from above." "Weren't you scared?" asked Sarah. "Of course I was scared. We were all scared. But there was work to be done. Our friends were dying. Someone had to move forward." "How long did you stay there?" 3 days. Then the Germans retreated. We went in. But those 3 days." He stopped. "Those 3 days were the longest days of my life." Amy raised her hand. "Mr. Patterson, what happened next?" "Then we went to St. Vith. Then the Battle of the Bulge. Then Germany. Until the war ended." "How old were you when the war ended?" 21, I came back and got married. Went to college. Became a teacher." "A teacher?" asked Jake in surprise. 38 years. I taught mathematics. I retired. But I substitute teach occasionally. Why didn't you ever tell anyone? I mean, you never talked about the war. Richard took the photograph back in his hand. Because most of the time people don't listen. They think history is just writing in books. But today you seem to have questions. What about your friends? The other guys in the photo? Richard's face saddened. Danny, the kid who saved me, we lost him at St. Vith. Jimmy, the tall one on the right, made it home but committed suicide 10 years later due to trauma. Paul, the one in the middle, died 5 years ago from old age. Were you in touch with them? Yes. We met once a year, but now it's just me. The class was silent. History class had never been this real. Mr. Patterson, said Emma, how did you think to bring this photograph? Because today Mrs. Henderson's lesson plan said D-Day, and I thought maybe the kids would like to hear a real story. Do you have other photos? Richard pulled out a small album from his bag. A few. Students stood up, gathered around Richard. Photographs, letters, old newspaper clippings. What's this? Asked Sarah, pointing to a small medal. Bronze Star. Medal for Valor. Why did you get it? I saved a wounded buddy. It's not a big deal. Not a big deal, asked Mike. You're a hero. No, son, I'm just a soldier who did his job. The heroes were the ones who died on the beach that day. The class bell rang. Nobody moved. Children, said Richard. Your class is over. Mr. Patterson, said Jake. Will you come tomorrow too? If Mrs. Henderson is still sick, yes. I hope she is, Amy whispered. Richard smiled. Be careful what you wish for. As students filed out, Emma turned back. Mr. Patterson, thank you. Thank you for what? For making history real. It's very different from reading it in a book. That's why I tell it, child. Richard Patterson came to Lincoln High School for 3 more days. Each day more students came to his class. From other classes, even from other schools. On the 3rd day, Mrs. Henderson came back. But students wanted to see Richard. Let's make a deal, said Mrs. Henderson. Mr. Patterson comes once a week, as a special guest. This arrangement lasted 3 years. Richard came every Wednesday. Sometimes he told about D-Day, sometimes St. Vith, sometimes post-war life. Students changed. History stopped being just writing in books. It became events that real people lived through. In 2023, Richard became ill. He was hospitalized. His former students came to visit. Emma, Jake, Amy, Mike. Now they were all college graduates, working people. Thank you for teaching us, said Emma. What did I teach you? That history isn't just in books. That real people lived it. Richard smiled. Then my job is done. Richard Patterson died in 2023 at age 79. More than 200 former students came to his funeral. He was one of the last remaining D-Day veterans. The students who left wreaths on his grave would tell the stories he told to their own children. Thus history would continue to live. Lincoln High School now has a Richard Patterson classroom. That old photograph hangs on the wall, Young Soldiers, 1944, Normandy Shore. And every year on June 6, the anniversary of D-Day, students gather in that classroom to remember Richard. If this story touched you, tell us in the comments. Have you ever had such an unexpected teacher? Someone who taught you real life, who went beyond books. At the Hidden Page Stories, every silence has a story, every old face has a past. Because sometimes the biggest lessons are learned not in class, but in life.